Picture this. Someone disrespects you, maybe in public, and you feel it, right? Your blood starts to boil, your hands clench up, and you are just seconds away from unleashing on them. Well, right there, in that exact moment, you've already lost. We've all been there, but today we're going to break down exactly how to make sure that never, ever happens to you again. So why is that? Why is it that the person who loses their cool always loses the game? Every single time. You know, Machiavelli figured something out 500 years ago that most of us are still trying to grasp today. Whoever controls their emotions controls the room. They control the outcome, and ultimately, they control their entire life. And this right here is the absolute heart of the problem. When someone tries to provoke you, what they're really doing is testing you. They're looking to see if you're controllable. And if you lash out with that flash of anger, you've just proven to them that, yup, you are. You've literally handed them the remote control to your emotions and said, here you go, push my buttons anytime you want. That's not strength. It's a massive strategic failure.
Okay, so let's dive into our first technique. We are going to completely dismantle the biggest lie you've ever been sold about power. And it all comes down to how you see anger. Now, what's so fascinating here is the massive gap between how anger feels and what it actually is. I mean, that rush of anger, it feels powerful, doesn't it? But in reality, it just makes you predictable. The second you get angry, the strategic part of your brain just shuts down. You're running on pure, raw impulse. And that, my friends, makes you weak. Your anger isn't a weapon, it's a leash. And the moment you lose your temper, someone else is holding it. So, and this is so important. The goal isn't to never feel anger. Come on, you're human. The goal is to master the pause. That tiny little space between the trigger, the insult, the disrespect, and your action. That is where all your power lives. See, amateurs are controlled by their anger. Masters use it as a piece of information, and then they consciously, deliberately choose their response. And that is the ultimate reframe. Real power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. It's quiet. It sits back, it observes, it calculates, and it waits for the perfect moment to strike. When victory isn't just possible, it's an absolute guarantee. The second you master your anger, you stop being reactive and you start being strategically dangerous.
Now let's build on that with our second technique. This requires a huge shift in perspective that will fundamentally change how you see every single person who tries to provoke you. This is a total game changer. Seriously, let that sink in. Most of the time when someone disrespects you, it has almost nothing to do with you. It's a symptom of their internal chaos. They're insecure, they're afraid, they feel small, so they lash out and try to pull you down to their level just to get a tiny, momentary feeling of being taller. Once you truly get this, you stop taking any of it personally. And we can usually break these people down into three main types. First, you've got the threatened. Your success is like a giant mirror reflecting their own failures, so they have to attack you. Second, the attention seeker. For them, any attention is good attention, and your angry reaction is the validation they are starving for. And third, the unconscious reactor. These people are just in pain and they're spreading it around like a virus. You just happen to walk into their line of fire. Understanding this allows you to make a really critical shift. You stop being an emotional participant caught up in their little drama, and you become a calm, detached, psychological observer. You start seeing their behavior for what it is. A symptom, not a personal attack. And guess what? Someone who is just observing cannot be manipulated. And that brings us to our final and maybe our most devastatingly effective technique. This is the ultimate weapon in any psychological game you will ever have to play. This is what happens when you truly master what I call the Mask of Indifference. Just imagine it. Someone throws their absolute best punch, their most cutting insult, and you don't even blink. You show nothing. That complete and total lack of reaction creates a psychological void, a black hole that they just cannot handle. So here's how it works. We humans, we are hardwired to look for reactions. It's a feedback loop. We need to know if our words landed. So when you give them nothing, no anger, no hurt, just blank space, you shatter that feedback loop. All of a sudden, they're operating completely blind. They have no data, and it makes them confused, desperate, and very, very sloppy. So the power of indifference is just immense. It makes you completely unreadable. It projects this quiet, unshakable confidence. It instantly flips the entire power dynamic. Because what you're silently communicating is maybe the most devastating message of all. You are simply not significant enough to get an emotional response from me. So, What's the end result when you master all three of these techniques? Well, it's not about being cold or arrogant. It's about achieving a state of being where you are truly untouchable.
But listen, to get there, certain parts of you, they have to die. This is the dead weight that makes you vulnerable. It's the ego that just has to be right in every argument, the insecurity that craves validation, the pride that can't handle being disrespected, and the fear that desperately needs everyone's approval. When you finally let go of all that, you become light and fast and incredibly efficient. And this is what you become. A fortress, something so solid, so grounded, so unshakable on the inside that all the chaos on the outside, it just can't destabilize you. You've removed all the little hooks that people use to pull on others. This isn't about winning fights anymore. It's about achieving a level of inner freedom where those petty fights can't even begin. So the choice is yours. You can't be both. You're either going to be controlled by your emotions, or you're going to build emotional mastery. You're either trapped in these short-term, knee-jerk reactions, or you're on the path to becoming untouchable. The world is waiting. The only question is, which version of you is going to show up?